So I have a lot of people who have asked me to make a video about the 99 to 2001 Mustang Cobra and some of the differences, and I really did want to make this video anyway because there's a lot about these cars that is different than the 03 to 04 Cobras, and I really do love this New Edge Mustang Cobra, especially the early years, although we know that they were known for being underrated for 1999, and that there were some fixes that brought them back up to the 320 horsepower mark once they were recalled and everything. But let's get into the video and we'll talk a little bit about the 99 to 2001 Cobra. When you consider the 99 to 2001 Mustang Cobras, you have to realize there are a lot of really neat things about these cars. And you also have to forget about the Terminator Cobra and the cars that came after it. When you look at these cars, you need to remember that when they came out, they were incredible cars. I would say that they were the greatest Mustangs that had ever come out of Ford at that time, although we do have to remember the 2000 Cobra R. And that car is interesting to talk about in that circumstance because it wasn't really a high production vehicle. There were 300 of them made, and even though they were greater, they weren't really seen as much. There were people who raced them, but people rarely see those cars. And like I said, with 300 units made, do they really exist in a comparison to say that they're the greatest Mustangs that Ford had come out with? Maybe they were, but not in a high production standpoint. When you look at the front of a 99 to 01 Cobra, you definitely see that front bumper. Everybody wants that bumper on their Mustang. I've even seen people take their Terminator Cobra bumper off and put this bumper on. The fact is, it's a very good looking bumper. It's very aggressive. It has those very nice round fog lights. The arch in the middle is very aggressive as it bows out on each end. That is a really cool bumper, and a lot of people love that, and they pay good money for those bumpers. And that's something that the 99 to 01 Cobra, along with the amber tail lights, had brought to the Mustang world, especially the New Edge Mustangs. And it's interesting because those pieces seem to find their way on everybody else's Mustangs, but they did come off of 99 to 01 Cobras at some point, whether they were wrecked or whether people decided they were going to sell the car and they took those valuable parts off before they sold the car and they got away from people. So we owe the 99 to 01 Cobra a huge respect for the looks that it brought, and especially the front bumper and those amber taillights that everybody seems to love. As we look at the front of this 99 Cobra, I want to point out the running pony in the grille. A lot of people have talked about that lately. Did the Cobra come with a snake in the grille, or did it come with a running horse? It came with the running horse. All the Cobras came with them. So many people swap them out that you would think that it was standard on the Cobras. So as we're looking at this promotional picture, I want to point out the running pony in the grille as well as the clear headlights. These clear headlights were, with the chrome housing behind them, were in the 99 and 2000 Mustangs. But guess what Mustang they were not in 2000? That's right, the 2000 Cobra R had the blacked out housings that would appear later in 2001 to 2004. A lot of people don't know that. They see the Cobra R and they don't recognize that it actually has the newer headlights that were not out until later. And so in 2001, the Mustang Cobra would get the black housing headlights, just like every Mustang in 2001 to 2004. Something else that I find highly interesting was the 1999 to 2001 Cobras also had the V6 side scoops. Now this might not be very interesting at first when you think about it, because all of the GTs and V6 cars in 99 and 2000 had those V6 style side scoops, but the 99 35th anniversary package GT had different side scoops that looked like the later side scoops on the 01 to 04 GTs. Now these were a little different. The 01 to 04 GTs had a different honeycomb pattern in the scoop, and so there were some differences, and this was also a scoop offered on the 2000 Spring Edition Mustang GT. Notice that the Spring Edition is very similar to the 35th anniversary. It has the polished aluminum wheels, although I think the 35th anniversary actually had painted inserts on its wheels. It also has a new set of stripes on the hood that say GT. It does not have the twisted side skirts, And the rear spoiler is the same as the 99 and 2000, where the 35th anniversary had more of the 01 to 04 style rear spoiler, but it's hard to not make this into a 35th anniversary and spring edition GT video. But these are some things that I want to point out, because I can't say that 99 to 2001 Mustangs all had the V6 side scoops, because there were these two special edition GTs that did not. But apart from that, the Cobras all did have the side scoops from the 99 to 2000 Mustang V6 and GT as seen on this silver car. They're like a half scoop, like we've been looking at on the Cobra R as well. So if you look at a 2001 Mustang GT, it has the full side scoop. But if you look at the 2001 Mustang Cobra, it has the half side scoop still. And I wonder, why would they do that if they have the better scoop out already, which would continue onto the Terminators? And basically every V8 Mustang from 2001 and later had those full side scoops, including the Mach 1s. And if you look at the back of the 2001 Cobra, you'll see that they have the spoiler for 2001 to 2004. That was the same as the Mach 1 or the V6 or the GT. And it still has the amber taillights, but the rear bumper has the letters Cobra in it. And what's funny about that is the 99 Cobra had the same bumper as the GT. It just said Mustang in the rear. So if you look at this picture closely and look at the spoiler, look at the back bumper, and now this is what the 99 looked like. See, similar bumper, just with the different lettering in the back, but the spoiler was joined almost the whole length of the trunk on each side. So for 99 to 2000, that was the spoiler. That was an option on most V6s and on GTs. And if you look at the badge on the back of the deck lid, it says SVT Cobra. Here's a better picture of that. You can see it actually said Cobra underneath the SVT badge, and the lettering was a little bit bigger. This was for 1999. And the 2000 Cobra R and the 2001 to 04 Cobras all got the other badge that just says SVT. The hood on the 99 and 01 Cobra is a reverse style of what's on the GTs. It actually has a dome in the middle of the hood, and it actually clears a supercharger. As a matter of fact, when they tested the Terminator Cobras, they used that same hood, but they redesigned it for the Terminator so that it would have functional heat extractors. But if you look at this hood, you'll notice it's actually on a V6 Mustang. Look at the front bumper. And you'll know that in 03 and 04, the V6 Mustangs had this hood unless they were a pony package with the GT hood and hood scoop. This is a pony package V6 with the chrome wheels, the stampered pony stripes on the lower door, and the V6 hood from the previous years with the GT hood scoop. So that's technically a GT hood on it. So in 99 to 2000, the GTs had the same hood here as a V6 would have, no scoop, just that indentation that actually goes downward, and that actually causes trouble if you're trying to add a positive displacement supercharger like a Eaton, you know, like the Torque Tech, like my Bullet has, and you can't have as much clearance as you could with this hood, which is a hood that came on the 99 to 01 Cobras. And so this hood was a very good looking hood, and I think one of the reasons why they later offered this on the 03 and 04 V6 Mustangs was because they had so many of them on order or produced for the later Cobras, and they didn't use them because A, they didn't have a 2002 Mustang Cobra, and B, they didn't have the need for this hood on the 03 and 04 Cobras because they had changed the hood for the 03, 04 Terminators. And so my assumption is Ford had so many of these hoods that they were going to use on the Cobras, so they went ahead and used them up by putting them on the 0304 V6 cars, which was the last of the New Edge cars, so they might as well use them for that. And another interesting thing about that would be the 99 to 01 Cobra wheels. I think Ford actually needed to get rid of a bunch of those as well, so they offered them on the GT premium packages. So this is actually a 2001 Mustang Cobra wheel, and the GTs in 0304 had the same wheel just with the pony center cap. Now I was actually able to get a set of these for my 2003 Mustang GT. It did not come with these wheels, but I found a set in a wrecking yard and I was able to get those because I recognized what they were. Now something cool about those wheels was, if I remember correctly, when I got the new tires put on them, they did say something about 2001. and I think the part number was something for 2001. So if that's correct, then it's a possibility that since Ford changed to the Terminator wheel for 0304, they had a lot of extra parts, just like the hood we were just talking about. They had extra Cobra wheels lying around, or maybe some that were produced or some that they were going to use, but then they did not use them for the 02 Cobra because there technically wasn't one besides the Australian one. And maybe they decided that they would put these on the premium GTs, and that is what happened. So that is what I believe happened, and that's why these 03, 04 GTs had an option to have the Cobra chrome wheels on them. And now if we look at a 1999 Mustang Cobra, you'll see it has the painted 5-spoke wheels. As I look at the promotional card that I have about the 99 Cobra, under wheels and tires it says 17x8 5-spoke forged aluminum alloy painted surface, exposed 5 lug nut wheels. And so originally, because of that, I had come to the conclusion that the 99 Cobras had the painted wheels and the 2001 got the chrome wheels. But I have had owners of 99 and 01 Cobras tell me that they've had the chrome wheels and the painted wheels on each year of those Cobras. So it is possible that these Cobras were offered with either, and the data card just did not have that listed. Now, this picture is actually pretty cool because my brother was going to get a 01 Cobra, and he wanted it to be laser red, and he was going to have basically this exact same car, and that was when his V6 laser red Mustang got totaled. And so that picture is actually pretty cool to look at that and know that that was a car that he was highly considering. He later got his Red Mach 1 and his Terminator and other cars, but that was a car he highly considered. And the colors offered on the 99 01 cars are different than what the 0304 Cobras had. For the most part, there's some colors that were the same, such as the zinc yellow. That was a color that was later offered on the 03 Cobra. One of my favorite colors was Performance Red, and this is a lot brighter than Torch Red. It has a lot more orange in it. I really like this color, and it was not available on the 0304 Mustangs. It was on the Cobra R, it was on the GTs and the V6 Mustangs in 2000. Like this V6, for example. This is a Performance Red Mustang V6 3.8 liter, and someone in high school had this exact car. Same wheels, same stripe package, everything. This was exactly like the one that parked next to my Mustang in high school, and I really loved this car. I had a 97 Laser Red V6, and I was very grateful for it, but I really wanted a new edge, and I really loved this color. It looked almost orange to me. It was a new color. It was bright. It was crazy. I thought it was really nice, and this was a color that I really enjoyed to see when I see the car outside. And funny little side story about this. It was parked next to my V6, and a girl and her brother shared it. And one day I was out looking at the wheels on it in particular, because they are different spoke than the V6 wheels that were on my Mustang. And the girl who was driving it that day walked out and saw me looking at the wheels and very rudely said, "Can I help you?" And I looked up at her and I just said, "I'm just looking at your wheels." And she got in the car and drove off. Really rude. I found that kind of surprising because I parked in the same place all the time with my brother, and she chose to park next to us. So I thought there was this, common ground of Mustang friendship there. But obviously her parents had bought the car for her and her brother, and I guess she could care less. I guess I was wrong. I thought she was parking by my Mustang because she liked Mustangs, but I guess I was wrong. But anyway, I really liked the car, and that car later went around town and turned into a beat-up used car, and I never saw it again. But it was cool that it was a 5-speed car, and it was Performance Red, and it was a new color to me. And so the 2001 Mustang Cobra was offered in Performance Red. It was not offered in 99, so the 99 Cobra was actually Rio Red. So let's talk about the colors for 99, because there were a few colors actually. There was Rio Red, as pictured here. There was Electric Green Clear Coat, or I just call it Electric Green. There was Ebony, or Black, and the white for the Cobra was called Ultra White. And that was very interesting because there were only 4 colors offered for 1999, but 2001 had double the colors. And I find that interesting because Laser Red, for example, Laser Red Tinted Clear Coat is what they call it, was not offered on the 99, even though Laser Red did exist on the 99. In fact, Laser Red existed way back into the 90s, and I found it interesting when my brother had done the research and found out that there was no Laser Red Mustang Cobra for 1997, because I had a Laser Red V6 Mustang and I really liked that color, and I didn't know that Laser Red on the 96 to 98 Cobras was only offered in 96 and 98, and it was not offered in 97 for some odd reason. Now, I did get a Laser Red 98 Cobra, so that was pretty cool because it was something I had always wanted, and I had that for a little while. It was a really cool car with a cool history, but yes, it was Laser Red. So here's the 2001 Laser Red Tinted Clear Coat color, and then we have Silver Clear Coat Metallic and Zinc Yellow Clear Coat, and then we have Mineral Gray Clear Coat Metallic, and there was a True Blue, just like my Mustang Bullitt. I thought that was pretty cool. And then there was Crystal White, which was very interesting because Crystal White was not offered on the 2001 Mustang GTs like my brother's. They went to Oxford White, but for some reason they had the Cobras in Crystal White. And I'm wondering if it's because a lot of these Cobras were early production and that's why they still had the side scoops that weren't the full side scoops yet. I'm not sure about that, but that's an assumption. And then, of course, the Performance Red was the last color there. So those are the colors for the 2001 Mustang Cobra. And there were quite a few more color options than there were for 1999 for the Cobra. So all in all, technically, there were 8,095 99 Cobras produced. In 2001, there were 7,251. So for the US models, that brings us a total of 15,346 of these. Now I know that the 2000 and 2002 Cobras for Australia are cars to consider in all of this. I'm not going to talk a lot of these because there are other videos that go in depth about these cars that are very well done, and that's a whole different subject, but I do want to include these cars in all of this. Now this one has mirrors that fold like the 0304 Cobras have because it's an export car. And this one has what looks like the painted wheels on it. So I have seen a variety of the Australian Cobras and they look like they had both options. This car does not have a rear spoiler on it, so it's hard to tell what year range this one really was, but that's a whole nother story. For example, this one has the 2001 seats. It has the 99 painted wheels. It has the 99 and 2000 clear headlights. And I believe this was a 2001, so I don't know how Ford went about all the different changes and options for those cars. So they are definitely an exception to all the rules, but this is just something really neat to talk about. Now, as we look at the 99 Cobras, they had seats just like the GTs, just without the running pony on them. And so you can see these are GT seats, and you can tell it has the Cobra gauge cluster there. But look, these are the seats from a GT, and you can see how it has the running horse on them. So these seats, as far as I know, were the same as the seats that would be in a 99 Cobra, but the Cobra just did not have the horse. It didn't have anything on it. It was blank. But for 2001, there was a new seat offered for the Cobra that actually had the snake on it, and if you look at the cushioning, you can see that it has a very similar design, actually identical to the 2001 Mustang Bullitt, but the Bullitt had the old style leather to make it look like a 60s car, but look, the cushions are the same, but the center inserts are the only difference. So the 01 Cobra had dark charcoal leather with medium graphite Alcantara inserts, or it had chocolate brown leather with medium parchment Alcantara inserts. And so this is more of a brown color, and you'd be surprised how many came with that color actually. I really liked the charcoal seats like this, and you can see there's actually a design where the back of your knees has leather around it and that part of the seat, and you can see how there's a part on the top that wraps around in a half circle. right underneath the headrest there. But on the Terminator seats like these, you can see that the Alcantara goes all the way up underneath the headrest, and it goes all the way down and wraps underneath where your knees would be. And the bolsters are a little deeper on the Terminator, and the driver's seat on the Terminator had some more adjustable buttons down on the right lower side of the seat, which a lot of people actually don't know about. This is actually on the driver's side, so if you look at the bottom of the seat, there's the normal selection on the right there, but on the left of the picture you can see there's another little panel there with some buttons on it, and that's for the bolster and lumbar control switches. And that is for the 03 Cobra. So that is something a little bit different, and I know that's getting into the 03 Cobra, but just showing the difference between all the seats and the designs, there are differences over the years. So the 01 Cobra seats were a lot different than the 99. They were very special. The 99 Cobra seats were more like GT seats, but you can see how cool these look with the Alcantara inserts, and having the snake on them is really cool. And I really like the contrast between the black and the gray, or the parchment and chocolate brown, but those look really good, and I think that's a big plus for 2001 for the seats to actually have something special about them. Now, the 99 Cobra seats had the GT style headrests, just like in this picture. You can see they're shorter, rectangular headrests. And you know, if you're on the channel a lot, I'm always talking about the interior upgrade package headrests, because they were an option on the Mach 1s, and I really wanted them because they were like the 01 Cobra and the Bullet style headrests, and like the 03 Cobra headrests. But if you look at this next picture, you'll see the difference in headrest size. So here's the 99 Cobra style, and this would be 2001. You can see they are bigger, and they adjust up and down and forward and backwards. They tilt forward and backwards. And these headrests are known as the interior upgrade package headrests. And in this picture you can see these are some GT seats for 2003 and 4 that came with the interior upgrade package, therefore they came with the bigger headrests. But there is a difference between the headrests from the 01 Bullet and the 01 Cobra and these 03-04 GT IUP seat headrests, as well as the 03-04 Mach 1 and 03-04 Cobra headrests. Now, they do look very similar, but I'll show you in a picture here where I have a Bullet headrest and a Mach 1 headrest next to each other, and even they are different. So here you are. See the difference? The one on the right is from a 01 Bullet, which would be the same as an 01 Cobra, and they are shorter and more flat on the top. Now, these aren't the same as the GT or the 99 Cobra ones. See, these are more of a rectangle headrest. The other ones from the 01 Cobra and the 01 Bullet are adjustable up and down, forward and back tilt, and they are more moon shaped, and they are a little bit bigger, but they are different than the 03-04. Now, earlier SN95 Mustangs did have larger headrests on some models. Some of the GTs and some of the Cobras had these larger looking IUP headrests, but you can see they actually have a bead stitching on the side instead of the French stitching, which the French stitching looks more like you can see the threads and it's smooth, but this is an actual bead that goes all the way around the top there, and those can crack, and you know, they are just a different design, so that is something to consider. So these larger headrests did go back even into the 90s. Something that I believe to be different was the 99 gauge cluster actually had this aqua colored speedometer. You can see the numbers for the odometer are in a kind of an aqua color, and the gauges are kind of a different bluish color on the numbers, and then the 01 Cobra had more of a dark and black color, with the odometer readout in a darker green color, which is what all the later Mustangs had. So 99 and 2000 Mustangs, like this GT 35th anniversary, for example, this one has the 35th anniversary silver bezel, but you can see what color the gauges glow. It's kind of an aqua color, and then later they went to the darker green color for 01. Now, both Cobras had the Cobra lettering on the airbag, just like the 90s Cobras did from 94 to 04. Basically, all the Cobras had the same Cobra airbag. Instead of the running pony on the airbag, you had the Cobra letters. So that was something also to mention, but yes, that was the same as earlier. The colors obviously were different as the years went on. The 94 to 98 had a black color, so if you get an airbag from a 94 to 98 Cobra, to put in a 99 to 04 Cobra, it's not going to match. You can see there's a difference in color. It's actually black, not dark charcoal like the newer Mustangs from 99 to 04. And the brown saddle color is definitely different than the 99 to 04 parchment color, so that airbag is definitely not going to match if you get one of those. You wouldn't believe how many times I've seen this with cars that have been wrecked and they just buy an airbag from any year and they totally don't match. And as we're talking about steering wheels and all of this, it's good to mention that the 0304 Cobra did have a double leather wrapped steering wheel, and the easiest way to tell that in pictures is that the seam is on the very bottom of the Terminator steering wheel for the leather, and there are no seams on the top 10 and 2 parts of the steering wheel like there are on a lot of the GT steering wheels or the Mach 1 steering wheel. You can see there's seams on the top and even 2 on the bottom, and it depends on the year. I know they changed things around, and even in 2002 they went to this 2 design, this 2-tone wheel, and you can see those seams have different colors on the top and the bottom. But I do believe that the 01 Cobra did have only stitching on the bottom sections on the seams there, and it was a solid wheel. Now, there were differences between the 99 and the 01 Cobra interiors, and a big part of that was the head units for the radio and CD player. If you look at this 99 Cobra, you can see it has the tape deck and the radio up top and the CD down below. And then in 2001, all the Mustangs were changed from that design to have the bigger head unit that would have a in-dash 6-disc changer or a single disc depending on what Mustang you got, but it did have a bigger opening there, all as one unit with 3 buttons below for defrost, traction control, and fog lights depending on if the car had those options. But they did have the 3 buttons there, or plugs for the fog lights or the traction control most likely. And speaking of traction control, back on the 99 there was a button there for the traction control by the shifter bezel, and this button would be changed differently as the bezel changed. You can see on the 01 and newer it had the 3 buttons on the bottom like we talked about. And there were some Mustang GTs or V6 cars that did not come with a traction control button. It was always off, which is kind of cool, I think. But the 99 and 01 Cobras did come with traction control as part of their system. So as you can see in this picture for the 99, the Cobra would have had a center console like this one that has the cup holders behind the stick shift there and 2 buttons there, and those buttons operate the fog lights and the convertible top if it was equipped. And then in 2001 the Mustang's center console was changed, and behind the shifter there you have the convertible top switch and then a cup holder, and behind that a bigger cup holder with a removable insert, and the fog light switch moved up by the shifter bezel where those 3 traction control, fog light, and defrost buttons are. So the independent rear suspension was new for the Cobra in 99. The Lincoln Mark 8 had something similar, and so there was that kind of design in Ford before, but Ford wanted to try to compete better with the Camaro and have better handling and things like that, and so they actually did have a different independent rear suspension for the Cobra. The 2000 Cobra R had one as well, and the 0304 Cobras had an independent rear suspension, and there were differences between those, and I know the spline count, for example, on the axles is different for the 03 Cobra. They did change the spring rates for the 03 Cobra. They did some things to change it around, but basically it is very similar looking. I know the 03 Cobra had 31 spline axles, and they said the 01 got those as well. And as far as the brakes go on the 99 and 01 Cobra, just like the Terminator, just like the Bullitt, they had the 13.0 Brembo PBR twin piston caliper brakes, and in the rear it had 11.65 discs, and they were, vented discs, and so that's very similar to what all the Cobras had in the 90s and the later 2000s. Now, as we talk about the drivetrain, a lot of people know that the 99 Cobras had some power issues, and those issues were resolved with a recall. And it turned out to be that the intake manifold and the process of making that casting and everything left less than smooth walls, They called it leftover flashing from the manufacturing process, which caused restriction to the airflow of the engine. And they also had an issue with the exhaust. They had to redo some of the exhaust, and they also adjusted the calibration in the computer. And so with those things choking the car, they went ahead and did recalls on that to give the car the advertised 320 horsepower that the car was supposed to be making. My friend actually has a 99 Cobra, a white one, that his in-laws had purchased brand new, and it was handed down to him later. And he has a lot of really neat stuff, and my brother has had a good video about this on his YouTube channel. I'll put the link below, but it shows some stuff like the jacket that he received. This was the original owner, got a leather jacket like this that had the VIN number of the Cobra, and it was something as an apology for all the issues, as well as all the documentation and paperwork that said exactly what needed to be changed and what cars were eligible. And it even said some more things in there about the drive belt for the serpentine belt and a tensioner were also changed in that process. And he had told me that underneath the intake manifold there's actually a number etched in there, and that serialized number proves that the recall was performed and all of that stuff. So it was really cool for him to show us all that. Something funny he said that I laughed at and I'm always going to remember is he said about the jacket and the letter and everything. He said, basically, SVT sent all this stuff to my father-in-law and said, hey, here's a jacket. Sorry we sold you a piece of crap. And I know that's not true, but I just thought it was funny the way he said that. And I would like to get into talking about the review that I had already talked about of the Mach 1 versus the Bullet versus the 99 Cobra, and how their performance was very similar, but the Bullet actually edged out the 99 Cobra, which had an 01 replacement engine with a recall, so everything was fine there. But Car and Driver actually did a test as well, and in the Car and Driver test, they actually tested the 01 Cobra to do a 13.5 quarter mile versus the 13.62, which the other magazine had gotten out of it. So there's actual proof of Car and Driver running that. Now, I don't know if they rounded it down. I don't know what they did, but it ran the same trap speed at 105 miles an hour. And they showed that compared to the LS1 Camaro that they had tested, the Camaro ran just a tiny tick slower at a 4.90 to 60, where the Cobra was now tested at 4.8, both of them running 13.5. And the Camaro did get 107 mile an hour trap speed, so it was a little bit faster through the traps, but basically they were saying that the 01 Cobra now matched the LS1 car. And now we are really splitting hairs with that. The performance is right on, just like the Bullet technically ran a 13.59, so if this test from Car and Driver is completely accurate, you could say, okay, now the Bullet didn't quite edge out the 99 to 01 Cobra. I don't know. It's really splitting hairs, like I said. It's really no big deal. They're very similar in performance now. But the reason why this is so significant is because when the 99 Cobra came out, Ford had said that it would do a 13.8 quarter mile, and when everyone was testing the car, all the magazines, they were running in the 14-second range with it in the quarter mile, and then 0 to 60 was 5.5 seconds. So it was significantly slower than what Ford had claimed, and the magazines were actually proving that it was slower because of the issues that they were having. And so this is actually one circumstance where they released a vehicle and the magazines actually tested it correctly, that it was not putting out what they were claiming it was. But this is the mineral gray Cobra that Car and Driver tested, and they did one more thing, kind of tricky. They asked for another Cobra, and so Ford sent them a white convertible Cobra, and they took both of those Cobras and put them on the dyno, and they are going to see what they actually put down. And both cars put down 272 at the wheels, identical, same engine, same everything for the 01 updated drivetrain. So they said, we got at least 2 of these Cobras, and that should be proof enough that they do put down the advertised 320 horsepower. Now, there are some things about the 99 and 2001 Cobras that I've read different things about it, so I'm not sure whether these sources are correct, but they do say that the 99 Cobras had Texid blocks, and some of the '01 Cobras had Texid blocks, but some of them actually had the Windsor, the WAP WAP blocks, like the Mach 1 would have, and that some of the '01 Cobras actually had replacement Texid block engines in them. But these are the 4.6 liter 32 valve 4 camshaft engines, and yes, the cams are different than the Mach 1, and high compression pistons that put out 9.85 to 1. This is actually interesting because the Mach 1 later would have 10 to 1 compression, and so it is a little bit different than the Mach 1, although everyone says they're the same. And that the cylinder heads were also revised again, even though they're C heads. It said that there were some issues with the overheating of cylinders 6, 7, and 8, and that would have issues with the valves to overheat and seat improperly. And Ford remedied the situation. They say with a TSB, there's a couple different TSBs that I've seen that said they removed those affected cylinder heads and changed them with a different design that featured altered coolant flow. I know that happened in '03 with the Terminators, but I guess according to some sources it said that actually happened, or the '01 Cobra later. Now, these engines were all hand-built and signed by the SVT engine builders at the Romeo niche line, and so that's something really cool that they've been doing with SVT for several years. Now, the T45 transmission was in the '99 Cobra, and then they went to the TR3650 in 2001. And all the Bullitt Mustangs got those as well, but it was a mid-year thing for the GTs. Some GTs got T45s, some got the TR3650s. I believe the Bullets were produced later, and so they just made sure that they all got the 3650s. But the '01 Cobras as well got the TR3650. And if you look at the casing of the T45, on the top is kind of more smooth, less ribbed design. That's how I usually tell them apart. So this is the T45, and the TR3650 had more ribbing. My '98 Cobra had the T45, and it was a nice transmission, and all my Mach 1s, Bullitt, the GTs I've all had the TR3650, and I really like it. I personally think it's a little bit smoother of a transmission, but I think that depends on who you talk to, and maybe some people with low mileage cars would beg to differ, but there was a transmission difference. Now, back in 2001, when the '01 Cobra was brand new, I had an opportunity to drive my cousin's uncle's '01 Cobra, however we're related. But I went to Rough and Ready, California, and he had a mineral gray Cobra convertible just like this one. Same wheels, same interior, everything was just like this car. And my brother and I were there visiting, and we were really in love with the Cobra. It was beautiful. The Terminator wasn't out yet. This was as good as it got. You know, it was a beautiful car, and he pulled it out of the garage, and he had the hood open, and we were looking at the beautiful engine with the big cylinder heads and everything. And as we were looking at the engine, he was putting the top down, and he closed the hood, and he threw the keys at me, and I caught the keys, and he said, "Take it around the block, go have some fun with it, don't wrap it around a tree, and there's really not a lot of gas in it, so don't go too far." And I couldn't believe he was just giving me the keys to this Cobra. I was 16 years old. I couldn't believe it. It was awesome. So I drove it first, and with the top down, I was really surprised when I put my foot to the floor how much air was rushing over the top of the car, over the windshield. You could really hear the exhaust with the top down. And I remember that the gauge cluster was very similar to the V6, but instead of a 5,000 red line, it had a 7,000 red line, you know, 6,800, whatever it is. But the needle looked like it was in the same place as my V6, but now it kept going and going and going. And when I put the clutch into shift gears, I lost my footing on the pedals because it was pulling so hard compared to anything I had ever driven. And so my impression of the '01 Cobra was that it was extremely fast, it was an awesome car, and then I traded spots with my brother, and I always give him trouble for this. The first time he drove it, he stalled it. And that's just a funny story we like to tell each other, but that is the first Cobra and the first V8 Mustang that I ever drove. It was an '01 mineral gray Cobra, just like this one. And speaking of this car, my friend down in Vegas, Mustang Thrall, has a nice collection of Mustangs. And we were just talking this weekend at the racetrack, and he has a beautiful '01 Cobra mineral gray. He has a black '01 Bullet, and he has those two New Edge Mustangs together, as well as a very beautiful brand new 2019 Mustang Bullet in the green. So that was really fun to talk to him, and I was telling him about how I was making this video and everything, but definitely a really cool car. So these '01 Cobras are really nice. I really like them. I think in 2001 they were the top Mustang you could buy, and that, yeah, the Terminator's come out and it's done incredible things, but I don't want people to forget about how cool these cars were. There was a black one here in town for sale when I was in high school, and I really wish I could have had it. There's no way I could have afforded it. There was also a silver one here in town that I really, really liked, and I watched it as it gained higher mileage and went down to Las Vegas and then to Phoenix and had an engine replaced and all sorts of things. So I've kept my eye on a lot of these cars over the years. And just down the street, I had found this '99 Cobra sitting on the side of the road where they were building houses, and one of the construction workers had driven this car. And now looking at this Cobra, we know by the spoiler and the wheels that this is a '99 Cobra. And if you were to look at the rear bumper cover, it would say Mustang instead of Cobra. But I thought that was a really cool car to see just here in the neighborhood. And you could see those amber taillights that everybody's after. And it's just really cool to see these cars around. And I did have some stories about some '99 and '01 Cobras on my channel already. I'll try to link some of those into the description or make a playlist about those, but there are some of these stories already on the channel, so feel free to watch those too. I was looking through some of the window stickers. This is a 1999 Cobra window sticker, and I also have a 2001 window sticker. They're kind of hard to find on certain years and things, but I thought it was interesting that this one did not show anything on the optional equipment with the polished aluminum wheels like we had talked about earlier. And I know that if the car had them, then maybe it would be on here, but it didn't show that on this particular vehicle. But on the 2001, it did actually show the wheels as the 17-inch polished aluminum wheels in the optional equipment for $395. So maybe there were some 2001 Cobras that came without the polished wheels, but I would assume that almost all of them came with them. So if you know of one or have one, let me know. I thought it was also cool to see the certificate for a 2001 Cobra that somebody had posted to look at online, and you notice that it's actually signed by Tom Scarpello and Art Hyde, and I hear that the new certificates you get are just signed by Ford Performance or somebody else, so that's how you can tell on the older ones. I think, if I'm correct, John Coletti had signed the ones for the Terminator. So that's something to think about. But what I find interesting on this is at the bottom here it says this vehicle is number 2054 of a build of 3867. And that number 3867 is only the coupes. So these certificates are divided up by coupe and convertible. I think that was pretty interesting. If that's how it is, that's what it looks like to me. But anyway, the '99 to '01 Cobras are very cool cars. I think anyone who owns one should be proud to have them. I've heard some people say that they think that they'll go up in value a lot because they are not the Terminators and that they were kind of a special period of SVT in the early years, and that they have the rare parts like the bumper and the taillights and things that a lot of people like. I've heard different things, and everybody wants to say that what they have will be worth a lot of money. But really, I don't think it matters that much what they're going to be worth. I know people like to know they have something valuable, but it's kind of sad if you care about something only by what it's worth or what you could sell it for. So for me, I love my cars and I don't want to sell any of them. It's always nice to know if you had to that it's worth something, but these cars are valuable to me. not in a monetary way, but in other ways. These are very valuable cars to me. I think they're really cool. I love the New Edge Mustangs, as you probably know if you've watched the channel a lot, and I just want to try to put that in words because it's difficult. This whole video is supposed to be how I feel about the car and the differences between it, and I just want to get the point across that I really like these Cobras, and I think they're really cool and they have their place in history. I would have been thrilled to be able to have one of these Cobras early on before I got any of my other cars. And people do ask me, would I rather have a 99 to 01 Cobra or a Mach 1? That's a very good question. I have looked at 99 to 01 Cobras. I have inquired about some that were for sale. I highly considered a laser red one in California right before I bought my yellow Mach 1. I thought it would be a pretty cool car to have as well. I do like the solid axle better in the Mach 1. I just think the IRS is great, but personally if I had to rebuild the knuckle bearings and things on the IRS, it could get a little involved, and putting a lot of miles on that kind of bothers me. But other than that, they're very similar cars. I love them for what they are, and the Mach 1s have just always been very special to me, and so that's why I've always preferred a Mach 1. But they're very, very similar cars. I drove my friend's 2001 Laser Red convertible, just like this, but a convertible car. And that car ended up getting wrecked, unfortunately. I have a story about it on the channel, but it got repaired. But anyway, I did drive that one, so it's kind of funny. The only 99 to 01 Cobras I've driven were both 2001s, and they were both convertibles. But I really liked them, and I thought they actually drove a lot like the Mach 1. They felt very similar, same transmission. So I think it's kind of a coin toss. I do like the Mach 1 for the shaker hood and a lot of really cool things that it has, and so that's why I've always chosen Mach 1s. But I do like these cars a lot. And so anyway, lots of really cool stuff here, and stay tuned for more Mustang content. Subscribe to the channel. Feel free to watch a lot of these videos. I know this was kind of a long video, but it's one I've been wanting to make for a long time, and I've had people ask, when am I going to make a video about the 99 to 01 Cobra, because there are a lot of people who love these cars, and I do want to make videos about them, and I do like these cars a lot as well, so I'm glad I had a chance to go ahead and say that and make the video. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more Mustang content.